Hello everyone, good to see you back again. Welcome to my channel's tutorial section. Today we'll be learning how to carve a permanent mandibular lateral incisor. Well, you can see a mandibular lateral incisor is quite similar to a mandibular central incisor. So let's start. First we'll start with marking of the aspects of the tooth: labial, distal, lingual and mesial. Next we'll be marking the dimensions of the tooth. We know our crown portion measures 9.5 mm. And now the root length, which is 14 mm. Now we'll mark the central axis of the tooth, just a rough guideline, and connect these on the top. Now mark the mesio-distal width of the crown, that is 5.5 mm, but we'll take 0.5 mm extra. Mark it on the opposite and on the top of the block. Make the notches. Now we'll cut straight along these markings to the crown length. Keep verifying the required dimensions. Mark the labio-lingual width of the crown, that is 6.5 mm, but we'll take a little extra to 7 mm. Mark it on the top of the block and also on the opposite. Mark the notches. Now we'll cut straight down to the marking of the crown length to make a cuboid. Make straight parallel walls within the marked dimensions. Keep verifying the required dimensions. Okay, so we are done with the cuboid. Now we'll mark the mesio-distal width at cervical, that is 4 mm on the labial as well as on the lingual. Make the notches at these markings as we have done earlier in the carvings, extending them labio-lingually. Okay, so we are done with the notches. Now to describe the mandibular lateral, it closely resembles the mandibular central incisor. It is just slightly larger in dimension by only 1 mm, which is to its distal half, though not always found. The crown follows even taper as in central to the root tip. The difference here is that mesial outline is longer and the distal outline is shorter, so that the incisal edge stays lower on the distal. It slopes to the distal. Hence, the contact area is slightly lower on the distal than on mesial. The contact area in mesial is slightly incisal to the junction of incisal and middle third. And on distal it is slightly lower. Let's carve. Maintain the angle of carver so as to connect the cervical to the contact area in even taper. See the taper achieved from the contact? Even it a little more. On the distal, the contact area is little lower. We'll do the slope edge later. Now do the same taper on the distal too, keeping in mind the contact area. See the gross taper. Okay, now we'll do the proximal aspect. First we'll mark the labio-lingual dimension at the cervical, a little less than 6 mm. Mark the notches at these markings. Okay, so now remember, from proximal aspect the outline is same as that of the central incisor. Labial outline is flat with the crest of contour close to the cervical. The incisal edge is inclined to lingual. That means the incisal edge is not following the central axis of the tooth. So let's carve first closing to the midline. Here we are approaching the midline. Maintain the angle of the blade and run to the full width. Carve little less on the mesial and more on distal. This is to add the characteristic feature of the lateral, which is distally rotated incisal edge. Here you can see the slight rotation of the edge. Keep making the coronal 2/3 flat, keeping the crest of the contour to the cervical. Now slightly contour below the cervical. See the tilt of the incisal edge achieved? Now we'll do the lingual, which has same features as the central incisor with short cervical height, slightly convex cingulum, then outline inclines to labial, forming concavity, then straight to meet the incisal edge. Let's carve. Carve the incisal first, keeping the incisal inclined to lingual. Don't carve too close, leave some thickness of the edge to develop the rotation of the edge. Also carve the concavity in the middle third. Round off the cingulum from cervical. See, we have preserved the incisal edge thickness. We'll use this to develop the incisal rotation. Here we'll carve more from the mesial. Let's clean up first. So now we have achieved a gross outline from all the aspects. Verify all the dimensions and do the corrections within the contour. Here we need to make the convexity of cingulum less. And also settle the concavity. First, evenly flatten the incisal third. Also remember, we have to rotate the incisal edge to distal. So on the lingual aspect, we'll carve more from the mesial than distal. See the rotation being developed? Now from the incisal aspect, as mentioned earlier, the incisal edge is distally rotated. So now we'll specifically work on the rotation of edge, carving more on distal of labial aspect and mesial of lingual aspect, maintaining the contours of the respective aspects. Check the contours and correct for the desired features. See the rotation. Another feature is inclined incisal edge towards distal. So we'll carve the incisal edge from distal, making it slightly inclined. Just this much. Okay, now we'll proceed to make the contours. Observe from all sides. Here we need to first correct the contour from labial aspect. Get the correct contact area close to incisal. Little down on distal. Now we'll round off all the labial line angles. Round off more in the cervical region. See the angle of the blade. It's carving more at the cervical and less at the middle third. Keep rounding off, same as in the mandibular central incisor, more convex in the cervical third, less convex in the middle third and flatter in the incisal third. From the incisal view, it has a V-shaped outline with the cingulum in the middle. Let's carve giving the slopes here. See the angle of the carver, it's running from incisal to cervical towards midline. We'll do same on the other side too. Let's clean up before proceeding. See, a gross shape is achieved. Just round off all the sharp line angles. Slightly round off the mesio-incisal and distal incisal angle. See, now the lingual concavity seems too shallow. We'll carve a bit more. See now? See the labial outline. Make the labial aspect slightly flatter. Just a little more, but clean the wax flakes first. Continue with the incisal 2/3. Okay, now we are done. Now just verify the dimensions. Now we'll add some details on the labial aspect. The labial aspect is usually very smooth. You may carve very slight developmental lines in the incisal half region, which is not a very marked feature. Just score the labial surface very lightly with the carver. Just blend them using earbud. See the texture achieved. Well, here I can see a curved outline which should have been in a plane. We'll correct this. Use the correct angle of the carver to develop the plane. Just a little more. See the corrected plane now? Now slightly smoothen the labial surface. Now on the lingual side, first we'll smoothen the concavity. Remove all the irregularities or scratches using Carve and a cotton earbud. Mandibular incisors don't have very prominent features, just less convex cingulum. It's usually very smooth surface. You may develop very subtle marginal ridges, and that too only in the incisal third. Again, not a very important feature to be developed. To do so, what we'll do is, we'll just carve along the line angles to get the marginal ridge in the incisal third. As you carve, you'll develop slightly raised marginal ridges on both sides. Polish it to remove any scratches and to even up. So now we can see slightly elevated marginal ridges. Just blend the marginal ridges with the concavity using the smooth back surface of the Zales carver or the discoid end of the Lacron carver. Clean wax flakes and polish again. So now we are done with the carving of crown portion. A little contouring will be done after the root carving. So check for the root marking and the midline, redefine them if they are faded. Start with making of notches at the root length marking. Now cut straight down from the cervical to the root length to make straight parallel walls. Do same labio-lingually. Now verify the root length, which should be 14 mm. Just like as in central incisor, from labial aspect, lateral incisor also has evenly tapering root with distally tilted tip. Before that, we have to carve straight from the cervical. We'll mark the height of cervical lines first. Mark the crest of the mesial cervical line at 3 mm and that of distal at 2 mm. See the marking? Just draw the cervical line very lightly up to this level, connecting lingual to labial cervical line. Do same on opposite side. Don't make a deep groove, just lightly draw. So now we'll start tapering the root from these cervical markings. Keep tapering evenly. Start carving down from the corners as well as following the taper. Okay, so now we'll carve the root from the cervical, following its curvature from the labial to lingual. We'll carve in this motion. So let's carve. Do the same on opposite side. Now I'll carve giving the taper. Here too. We'll carve the sharp line angles at the corner here, here, and also here. We'll carve giving the taper. We are done with the gross shaping of the root from the labial aspect. Now from the proximal aspect, the labial and lingual outline. Here the root outline stays very straight till 2/3 the length and then tapers at the apex. It's slightly tapered in the coronal 2/3 portion. This is already parallel, just develop the taper at the apex. Now start developing the slight taper in the coronal 2/3 portion too. Okay, so now we are done with the gross shaping of the root here. Now make sure you get a neat area at the cervical line and remove any bulge all around. Now start developing the taper in the straight plane, removing all the bulges or the convexities. Use only the back side of the carver to plane. You see slight contour here? This is because we carved the cervical line. We'll get it in a plane. Also I see a bulge in the root. We'll reduce it to achieve a taper in a plane. And now the bulge of the crown. Keep the angle of the blade in the desired taper. Remember, get stable carver position to do any carving stroke. See? Do same on opposite side. See the taper now? See in this aspect, slight bulge. Carve them with gentle strokes to get it in plane. Also maintain the taper at apex. Also give a slight distal tilt at the apex. See the root outline? Better now? Just a little more taper at the apex. See the curve in the root here? Straighten this. A little more. Observe the angle of the carver blade, maintaining the taper from cervical. See the taper now? See, now from this angle, you can see an arc-shaped root outline from the cervical. We need to get it in plane. Carve more at the prominence and merge at the ends. See now, just a little more. Now it seems fine. Here I am slightly blending the crown to match the root taper. Check again. Just making it slightly parallel. See the very slight contour at the cervical. Correct it to make a plane. Again, observe the angle of the blade. Give full length gentle strokes from crown to root to blend in the even taper. Also removing any sharp line angles in the root. See, slight bulge here. Again, get a plane here too. Now carve slightly at the apex on the mesial side to develop the distal tilt. See the tilt being developed. Clean up for better viewing. See the root tip, it's to the distal. Redefine the cervical line and remove all the angles in the plane. So we are done with the shaping of the crown and root. Now we'll complete the distal tilt of the root and also the developmental depressions on the root. First we'll make the depressions and then the tilt, cause making the tilt first might weaken it from the base and cause it to break. Okay, so we'll do the depressions. First flatten the root a bit. Now we'll do same procedure as we did for the mandibular central incisor. Just carve a groove labio-lingually in the middle along the length of the root. Carve deeper at the junction of middle and the apical third. Clean wax flakes, smoothen it with cotton earbud. See the depression achieved? We'll do same on the opposite side. Keep blending with the back side of the carver. Remove any sharp line angles with gentle carver strokes and blend and polish with cotton earbud. See the depression achieved? Okay, so we are done with the developmental depressions on both sides. Now we'll do the apical tilt of the root to the distal. Carve more on the mesial surface and less on the distal surface in the apical third. So we are done with the mandibular lateral incisor. Observe all the aspects. Also observe the incisal aspect that distinguishes it from the central, the rotated incisal edge to distal. I hope this video was useful, so keep practicing and keep carving.